What's up, guys? Late night for me tonight, but the show always has to go on. Well, we got one here. I know there's been videos out there. I'm sure if you guys see this lady, you'll know who it is. Kind of a nut job, but she's basically going off on a raw dash takes on marriage, parenting, entitlement, paired with her husband simping enables this chaos. And like I said, you've seen these videos before, but let's get into it.
To do a look back on how much money my husband. It is officially 2025, so I thought it'd be a great time to do a look back on how much money my husband and I spent on childcare in 2024. I'm going to hit you with the grand total first, and then we're going to walk through how we got to that number. So last year for 2024, my husband and I spent about $66,000 on childcare. Now, when I talk about childcare, I'm not simply talking about daycare. We have 4 kids, and while 2 of them are in full-time daycare, the other 2 are in public school. And there's this common misconception that once your kids hit public school age, there's just no longer any childcare costs, and that just simply is not true. We're going to start off with daycare because daycare is incredibly expensive. And so we were paying about $3,000 a month in January of last year. That is for 2 kids in full-time daycare. There was a toddler and a preschooler, and that was $3,080 a month. It did increase significantly in August when they had their annual rate increase. So you'll notice a significant jump there. The total was $38,525. Last year, we had an after-school nanny for our 2 older kids who were in first grade and kindergarten because their school gets out at 3 o'clock and we don't stop working at 3 o'clock. And so we needed some help in the afternoons. It was about $2,000 a month, coming out to $14,000 for the year. She did end in July. Because we no longer have an after-school nanny, we now do after-school care. And so they don't charge you monthly. They charge you for like a 6-week session. And so these are the payments I've made so far. We've spent about $6,000 this year. And this smaller number here is just for half days we had to pay for. And the last thing is summer camp. We spent over $8,000 for summer camp for our 2 older kids because in the summer they don't have school and we were still working full time. And mind you, this is not a sleepaway camp or anything like that. This is a day camp. It's usually from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. and some of them have extended day programs. And so it all just depends. But yes, $8,000 for camp. All combined, it is a whopping total of $66,866 for childcare. Now, I share these numbers to highlight the childcare crisis that's going on in our country. Obviously, I have a larger family, but the bulk of the cost for my family comes from daycare. And on average, in the state of Massachusetts, where I live, it is about $20,000 a year to send your child to daycare. And it's a cost that most families simply cannot afford. There is a childcare crisis, and you're going to continue to hear about it from parents in 2025 because childcare is inaccessible, it's unaffordable, and the industry itself is broken. Care workers are not paid fairly. Families can't afford it. This is something that pretty much every working family is dealing with right now. So if you're willing to share, how much did you spend last year on childcare?
No, thank you. I prefer to die giving you the finger.
Jesus Christ. Bragging about spending $66,000 on childcare in 2024 while playing the victim to childcare crisis. I mean, you're crying about the cost of Massachusetts where you choose to live while expecting sympathy from everyone else. I mean, maybe you don't have 4 kids if you're outsourcing parenting to nannies, daycare, and summer camps. Her crisis isn't about childcare, it's about priorities. Her husband is busting his ass to pay for this circus, yet he gets no mention. No thank you, no nothing, no go fuck off, anything. I mean, not a goddamn thing there. There was a video I can't find because she posts like crazy of this bullshit where she was talking about how they come up with the money for the childcare. Basically, what they do is they calculate the costs and determine how much overtime he has to work. Now, just remember that he has to work to cover these costs. Now you're looking at $66,000 in childcare. But I remember in that video, they were talking something like he needed to make an extra 70, 80,000 in overtime a year. I mean, think about that. The average person in the United States is averaging what, like 50, 55,000 a year. I mean, if you're in a pretty good job, you can make 60, 70,000 a year, but you're talking about making a second salary just to pay for childcare. Just remember what I say now as we progress into the other 2 videos that I have. But basically, instead of her blaming society, she should try trimming the luxuries and being an active parent. Single income families needs to make this shit work. And yes, I do agree childcare is absolutely expensive and it's stupid in how expensive it is, but is it really a crisis? Families are being gutted by entitlement, materialism, and feminists lie that career trumps family. Before I also forget, there are recent videos of her talking about being laid off. And so I guess her husband is going to have to pick up more overtime to cover that loss because she's clearly not going to be taking the kids out of daycare, childcare, whatever care they're in from that loss of income.
I've been with my husband for almost 20 years, but about 3 years ago, I was strongly considering divorce, and I want to talk to you about why. So I'm going to tell you the story of the day where I thought to myself, maybe I don't want to do this anymore. My husband and I had 4 kids. We both worked full time. We had been together for 16 years at this point. We've been together since high school. And on paper, I have an amazing husband. He is incredibly supportive. He's kind. He's loyal. He's a great dad. He's very hands-on. He's an active participant. He's always present. Like, on paper, what else could I ask for? But in reality, my experience is very similar to the experience of other women. I had this amazing husband who on paper was great, but I was incredibly frustrated and burnt out from our marriage and from motherhood. Because what happens to so many of us is that we marry these amazing men and we have amazing relationships, and then we have kids. And when we have kids, women tend to carry a disproportionate amount of the work in the home, the work of raising kids, and the mental load. And that is exactly what happened to us. About 3 months after my fourth baby was born, I remember looking at my husband and saying, I need more. I need you to do more. I am exhausted. I am in charge of everyone and everything in this house. Every night when we cook dinner, you ask me what to make. Every day when you drop off the kids at daycare, you ask me what they need in their backpacks. I am the project manager of this home and I need you to do more. And he looked at me and he said, okay, just tell me what to do, right? Every woman has heard this. Just tell me what to do and I'll do it. And I said, okay, something that would make my life easier is if in the mornings when I came downstairs with the 4 kids, because I do mornings by myself, the dishwasher was emptied, the dishes were put away, and the trash was taken out. That would make my life so much easier, because when I've got the 4 kids running around and the baby crying, I can't be looking for their favorite water bottle in the dishwasher. I just need to know it's clean. And he said, yeah, of course. What? Yeah, I'll do that. That's no problem. And so, of course, he does it. But then I have to remind him, and then he forgets, and then I have to remind him again. And there was this one morning where I woke up, and I went to put something in the trash, and it was overflowing. And I went to get my son's water bottle, and it was in the dishwasher with all of the other clean dishes. And I felt so disrespected and unseen and unvalued at that point in time. And I remember texting my husband being like, what happened? Like, why didn't you do this? And he said, sorry, I was running late for work. And I remember thinking, oh my God, he doesn't see me. Because what he's done has now made me late for work. And he doesn't care about that. He doesn't care about the impact on me. And he doesn't see how every single thing in our home happens because I ask him to do it, or because I do it myself, or because I planned and organized it. The diaper bag is full because I filled it, right? I put the wipes in there. And I felt so frustrated. And I remember thinking, what's the point? What's the point of doing this with someone else? I might as well just do it alone. And it's not because my husband didn't love me or he did anything to me, and it's not because I didn't love him, but because I felt so taken advantage of in our relationship. And this dynamic, it doesn't happen by accident, right? It's not like my husband did it to me, but we've been raised in this society that tells men and women who they should be in marriages and what it looks like to be a good mom versus a good dad. And we know the bar for moms is way up here and the bar for dads is way down here. And we fell into these norms. We fell into these roles in our family, despite the fact that we never wanted to. And I'm lucky, and I say lucky because I have a partner who I know loves me and wants me to be happy and was willing and able to change. And so we did the work to figure out what equity looked like in our relationship. And I can tell you now, 3 years later, that we are happier than ever. Our kids are thriving. Our home runs like a well-oiled machine. And that took a lot of work. I want to say it took like 18 months to get there. And it was well worth it. But it is not uncommon. And so if your wife is coming to you and she's saying, I'm burnt out by the mental load and I need you to do more, she's not just saying that because she wants you to do more chores. She's saying that because truly it can hurt your relationship. It can ruin your marriage if you do not participate in an equitable way in your home. And so what does that look like? What does it look like to change these dynamics? Well, we need to really assess in our homes what the work looks like. Because in most homes, the data supports this, women do a disproportionate amount of the work. They just do. They do more of the cooking and the cleaning and the laundry and the childcare while also working full time. And men have more time for things like their hobbies, like golf, for example, or just working out, running a marathon, right? And so we need to have hard conversations about what our time looks like, what our labor in the home looks like, what is invisible labor. We have to talk about these things. And when we don't, the alternative is that you no longer have a marriage, or you don't have a happy one at least. And so I share this story because I don't think I'm alone in this experience, and I want people to know that there's hope, and that if you have a willing and able partner, you can change this. You can absolutely change this dynamic.
You are pukes. You are the lowest form of life on earth. You are not even human fucking beings. You are nothing but unorganized, grabastic pieces of amphibian shit. Because I am hard, you will not like me. But the more you hate me, the more you will learn.
Yeah, basically her husband checks every box. He's loyal, supportive, great dad, and she's still considered divorced because she got to remind him to take out the trash and empty the dishwasher. And I really hate to say it, but what a bitch. Men don't want to project manage their wives. I mean, this dude's working full time. Remember what I said? $66,000. He had to work earn in overtime $70,000 to $80,000. So definitely working loads of overtime. He has no fucking time for his hobbies, running a marathon or anything, because all he's do is work, 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 and then coming home and doing her shit on top of it. With that, they're raising 4 kids, and now he's got to jump through all these additional hoops just to meet her ever-changing emotional need, depending on what phase the moon is in. I mean, women like this have bought into the feminist propaganda, which says men need to become subordinate housekeepers to prove their worth. And this mental load that she's pissing and moaning about is just about life as an adult. Most men don't nag their wives over the little shit. They handle what needs to be handled. And her threat of divorce just proves she sees marriage as transactional. And again, I'm going to say it, you have 4 kids. 4 kids. Kids are not an easy task to have. One that can be a lot. 2 is definitely a handful. 3, and then you're tacking 4, and you're crying, my hands are full. Well, no shit. Oh, and I should add on top of this that I remember one of the videos she talked about, she works from home. So we'll put that in. It's not like she's got to commute to an office or anything like that. Or at least when she was working from home. I don't know if she's got a new job yet, because half of these videos give me a damn headache listening to her.
I did not know my daughter's pediatrician's name before I found out I was getting divorced. And you know what? Because they basically went to the doctor when I was at the office during the week. And so my ex handled that. What I did know is I spent 5 hours teaching each of my daughters how to ride a bike on a Saturday, 5 hours each kid, when I was available, because that's the kind of thing I was able.
I stumbled across this video last week and I thought about stitching it, but I decided not to. Instead, I left a comment and I shared my perspective on his video because he asked, am I missing the mark here? And I thought he was. Now, for context, this is what I said. I said, you did something one time. You're comparing it to the constant, never-ending care your partner did. It's not to say that teaching them to ride a bike doesn't matter. It does, but so does the mundane stuff. You could have taken time off to go to the doctor's. You could have talked to your partner about the appointment. You should know the name because it means you fill out forms for school and every single form ever asks for that name. You should know the name in case of an emergency. Kids go to the doctor's on weekends. Teaching your kid to ride a bike and having a job does not excuse you from knowing the important details about their life. Now, I'm not the only person who feels this way, obviously, because there's a lot of likes on this comment. Actually, there's more likes on this comment than there are on the video. Now, that's neither here nor there, but he asked in his video and in his caption whether or not people think it's appropriate for this question to be brought up in a custody agreement. And I said, yes. Obviously, it makes sense that you would ask for basic information like the kid's pediatrician's name, their teacher's name, their best friend's name, maybe what size clothing they wear, anything to indicate that you are involved in their day-to-day lives. I think it's appropriate to ask that question. And at first, he kind of treaded lightly in his response to my comment. He kind of dances around the topic. He neither agrees nor disagrees. He just thanks me for the content and says that he was putting it all out there. Now, I stopped engaging after that, but he continued to DM me asking me if I'd ever considered collaborating with him to speak in more depth about these topics. I did not respond, but more and more people kept tagging me and commenting, and so I went back today and I saw this comment. He's calling into question my ability to speak on this because I at one point considered divorce. And I considered divorce, and I have shared my story many times, because there was an unequal division of labor in my family. When I came to my partner and I told him I was struggling, he heard me. He listened to me. He saw me. And now 3 years later, we are still happily married. Our home is functioning. Everybody's happy and healthy and thriving. And his relationship is no longer, it seems. He was blindsided by divorce. And here's the thing I know about most men who are blindsided by divorce. They were blind in their relationships. They didn't pay attention to their partner. They didn't listen to their partner. They didn't see their partner. They didn't hear her when she said, I'm struggling, I'm unhappy. They chose to ignore that and proceed as they always had. And so when the divorce comes up, they're blindsided. The difference between my husband and a man who's been blindsided by divorce is that my husband saw me. He saw me and he cared about my relationship and he changed. And he did not continue to double down on the idea that it's okay to be an absent father or not involved in the day-to-day lives of your family simply because you have a job. He didn't double down on the idea that men's sole purpose in life is to provide financial support for the family. He knows that providing care for his family is just as important. And so here's the thing. I wasn't going to stitch this because I didn't care to talk about this man. But if he wants to bring up my marriage, then I'm happy to talk about him and his perspectives because I think he misses the mark big time. And if you're looking for a divorce consultant, I don't think he's your guy.
You know what I'm gonna get you next Christmas? A big wooden cross. So every time you feel unappreciated for all your sacrifices, you can climb on up and nail yourself to it.
Talking all this stuff about her husband, seeing her, heard her, this, that, blah, blah, blah. And when the last video is like, well, he wasn't listening to her, she wasn't being seen. And I mean, pick a lane and stay in it. Really, what it came down to is her husband just turned it to a simp, just gives her what she wants. She wears the damn pants in the family, runs the household. But here she is attacking this divorced dad for not knowing his kid's pediatrician while ignoring the obvious, which men are systematically cut out of parenting. And know something? My daughter went through multiple pediatricians because doctors move on to other clinics or we move to different cities. I mean, I got to a point I stopped learning their damn names because of this. Anyways, courts grant mothers custody 79% of the cases, even when dads want equal involvement. She smirks about being in this happy marriage now, which I call absolute bullshit on that. She's a miserable person after threatening divorce and breaking her husband's will. But you can't fathom why some men get blindsided. You want to know why? Men are told their financial contribution the bare minimum while their emotional needs are mocked. Patting herself on the back for fixing her marriage while her husband grovels at her approval. Or, like I just said, he's a simp and he caved in. But this guy that in this video that she's mocking most likely suffered from a biased system that devalues fathers. So, guys, take note in this culture, your sacrifices will never be enough. And I was thinking on something else here when I was listening to her rant with her nonsense string of bullshit, where she was talking about overwork, mental overload, this, and this. How does she still find the time to put up this random bullshit on TikTok? Maybe stop doing that and you got a few extra minutes to spend with your kids or do something else. I don't fucking know. I mean, guys, modern marriage is a raw deal for men. The courts favor women, society mocks fathers, and feminist rhetoric turns partnerships into a power struggle. So, guys, know your worth. Stop enabling this entitled behavior. Go your own way or look for traditional relationships abroad. I mean, it's time to demand respect or just walk away entirely. Anyways, guys, this video irritated you as much as I did. Not in a sense the video that I made, but listening to this cow. Hit that like button, share, subscribe, and all that fun stuff. Drop me a comment down below what you think, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.